What's up, Synthaholics? I'm Stephen Learson, and I've just been overwhelmed by the amount of synths Behringer has announced this past month. It's like they're building an army. The Model D, the Neutron, the K2, the Pro 1, the DeepMind, MS1, the Crave, the VC340, the Odyssey, the TD3, the Wasp. And I'm pre-recording this video, so who knows, they might drop another synth before I can even get this out. Behringer's also been teasing pre-production models of some of the most iconic polysynths, like the 2600, the OBXA, the SH5, the Monopoly, VCS3, Emulator 2, and the CS80. Give me that sweet, sweet ribbon controller. One of my favorite synths that Behringer has released is the DeepMind, and it's a pretty thoughtful creation. The designers went through a lot of trouble to make its features easy to use, and that's what I want to see more of. Now, there are a lot of synthesizers on the market with tons of bells and whistles, but in my opinion, all the features in the world don't really mean a thing if they're a pain to use. And this is kind of where the DeepMind crushes it. There's a versatile modulation matrix, there's lots of effects, and they're all easy to use. So don't get me wrong, I think it's awesome that Behringer is remaking all these iconic instruments. And if they make a CS80, I'd be happy to review it for them. So go ahead, Behringer, make an OBX or a Jupiter. If you do, I will probably end up buying one. But what I'd really like to see is a flagship synthesizer that uses the building blocks of the DeepMind's interface. And since your slogan seems to be, "We hear you," well, here's what Stephen Learson's dream polysynth would look like. Let's start with a key bed with 61 keys and poly aftertouch, 3 oscillators per voice with 16 voices, VCOs of course, and let's put in some cool retro lines to divide the different sections of the synth. Okay, so to the left of the keyboard, let's have a big hands-on modulation section. And here's what I'd put there: a pitch bend and mod wheel, and 3 assignable mod sliders. And below them, we can put some mod push buttons to trigger the different modulations. Above that, we can have a glide on-off switch and a glide knob. And then let's add some transpose octave buttons with a big range. Looking above the keyboard, let's put in that sweet, sweet ribbon controller, which will be assignable, of course. Now we need a master tuning knob, so let's put it way up in the right-hand corner so there's no chance of bumping it by accident. Back to the left, above our mod section, I'd put 32 buttons, and this can be used for a sequencer, and it could also double as a favorite bank. And let's put in a button so we can get to our favorites. And since this will double as a sequencer section, let's put a knob in for changing the tempo, and then a group of sequencer control buttons. And here's how I would arrange them. I'd have step record and play buttons, and then also I'd have a button for selecting a note you might want to change after you've written a sequence. And this might be radical, but how about a real-time recorder button that will allow you to record a sequence in real time, either to a click or when you're playing with a band live. On the bottom row, we can have an arpeggiator button, as well as buttons for selecting the octave range, ratchet, and swing. Okay, let's get onto the main panel and start with some LFOs. 4 sounds good to me. And let's have 4 buttons on the left to assign what they should mod and what kind of shape. Now, I prefer sliders over knobs, so most of the front panel will be slider-based, and let's start with dedicated sliders for the LFO rate and delay. So I said we're going to have 3 oscillators, so let's have a volume section to control the volumes, and then we can also have a noise volume. And above that, we can have octave selector switches for each oscillator, and the noise switch can be for choosing the type: white, pink, red, blue, all the colors of the rainbow. And how about an oscillator shape section? And it would be awesome if we could slide seamlessly between triangle, saw, and square waves. That would be cool. And since pulse width modulation isn't just limited to square waves, how about dedicated sliders for modulating the wave shape? And above that, we can have an additional slider section to control the mod amount for each oscillator. I've got an empty space in the middle here, so let's put in ring modulators and sync. How about on-off buttons for both, as well as switches for selecting which oscillator to ring modulate or sync. Next, I'm going to steal a trick from Moog, the fine tune or beat option like they have on the Sub 37. So how about some fine tune sliders for all 3 oscillators? And we need some overall pitch control, but let's stagger the pitch knobs so you don't bump the wrong one by accident. Okay, so it looks like I've completely covered the left side of the synth. So let's put in a DeepMind style screen next to all of that. And now how are you going to access all these sounds and parameters and edit them easily? Let's put in something everyone will know how to use, a number pad below the screen. Everyone uses this on their phone every day, and to make it extra cool, we can make it in the style of an 80s PC keyboard. All right, now onto the right side of the synth, and first a question. Is anyone bored to tears by the standard ADSR filter? Let's steal an idea from the Korg Poly 800 and put in an ADBSR filter. That's right, ADBSSR, or attack, decay, breakpoint, slope, sustain, and release. Below that, we're going to have a row of sliders. The first will be data and detune sliders like on the DeepMind with edit options. Then we need some filter control. Here we'll put in sliders for low pass cutoff, resonance, envelope generator, and keyboard control. But a low pass filter isn't good enough. We also need an identical section with a high pass filter. And maybe we can have buttons on the bottom, so if we want, we can switch to bandpass or notch filters. This synth is getting kind of full, but I have a tiny strip of empty space over here on the right, and this is what I think would be really fun. Since Behringer has already remade so many classic synths, why not just make a section dedicated to each synth's filter, which you can select? We can have a button for the Model D, the MS-1, the Odyssey, the Wasp, the DeepMind, the K2, the Pro 1, and the TD3. That would be sick. So I clearly spend way too much time thinking about all this stuff, but this is what my dream synth would look like. And I'm not just directing this video at Behringer. If there's any other synth makers out there who would like to make a synth like this, I'd be happy to consult. And to everyone else watching this video, I'd love to know what your dream synth would look like. I mean, what did I leave out? What did I forget? Talk about it in the comments. And if you like this video, please subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll be back every Monday with some fresh, geeky, funky, synth-heavy music. All right, we'll see you.